What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Test Your Might, the internet's only video game debate show. We're not that good right now because we are still holding debates. So we're not doing debates this week.
No, we're great right now.
All right,
That's
sure,
right.
we're great
because
right
we're
now.
giving you the news.
Yes. Anyway, today we will be discussing Starfield impressions, PS5 impressions. I know, 2 years late, but also some more stuff. Anyway, we have none other than Cicero Holmes with us. How's it going?
It's going great. I am all starry-eyed.
Okay. Yeah. Save that for later, and don't misinterpret what he said. Joe.
I am also here. I'm
Joe
back
is here
for the first time in a very long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Editor.
If I have fans out there, hi. I imagine I probably don't, though. So to everyone who's just seen me for the first time, what's up, everybody? Nice
Well,
to
I mean,
meet you guys.
you edit the podcast so to get to our people's ears, so
Right.
you probably
Their
have
ear
some
holes
fans.
and their eye holes.
The main man behind the scenes.
But Joe, yeah, good to have you on today's show just to talk about some recent video game news. Listeners, please leave us a review. iTunes or Apple Podcasts and Spotify are probably the best to do so. Spotify you could do on the mobile app only. But yeah, leave a comment down on an Apple review so that we could read it on the show maybe. Would really appreciate it. Also, we're going to put this full podcast on YouTube just because we haven't been breaking it up recently, haven't been doing the debates. So we're just going to video this and get it out to you as well. So if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button and like the video. Also comment down below on some of the news updates that you enjoyed from this past week and your opinions on those. All right. So we're doing a little bit of like mixture of news in the what you have been playing section because we're going to give you our Starfield impressions right now. Me and Cicero have played. Cicero definitely a lot more than me. I'm probably about maybe an hour or two in, probably a little bit less, but Cicero definitely a little bit more. So Starfield, this big Xbox exclusive, one of the tent poles I believe that they were setting it up to be for the Xbox brand, for Bethesda in general. Cicero, what do you think about Starfield so far?
I like it. So I will say that if you've been paying attention to any of the conversations that people are having online about the game, one of the criticisms is that the game is a slow burn, and and usually what people are saying is that the threshold is about 12 hours before the game really starts to take off. I am below that threshold. I'm probably around 8 or 9 hours into the game. But I think that threshold for me will probably be about 18 hours because I keep finding nooks and crannies and crevices to go through. In fact, if any of the people that are listening to my voice right now have played Starfield, I have made it to New Atlantis, and I did a bunch of things on New Atlantis, but I am just now starting the mission from the main missions after you get to New Atlantis.
Okay.
So within in those 10 hours, I haven't done any of the main story mission stuff. I've just been running around, finding different things and getting credits and doing some side missions and that kind of stuff. But for what it's worth for me, people that have listened to the show before, have heard me talk over the last few years, you know that one of my favorite games of all time, one of the games that I will continue to play, is a space simulator called Elite Dangerous. And I haven't played Elite in a while. And part of the reason that I haven't played Elite in a while is because they came out with a new new bit of DLC, which actually allowed you to have some space legs, so you could walk around your ship. Well, you still couldn't walk around your ship, but you could walk around on the surface. You could walk around in the space station. You could do all of those things. These are things that would make the game even more immersive. And they would have story missions and that kind of stuff. That particular piece of DLC fell flat, and in fact, a lot of people are crediting it with having broken the game and having kind of destroyed the game and its relevancy. So that's disappointing. What isn't disappointing is the fact that in Starfield, I got a lot of the things that I wanted to see in Elite Dangerous, and in the way that it deals with space flight and space combat, there are similarities that I can draw to Elite Dangerous that are positives. So it is exciting for me because I'm getting a little bit of that Elite Dangerous stuff. I've actually got more than I could in Elite Dangerous because not only can I buy ships, which is something that I could do in Elite Dangerous, but I could also create my own ships. I could modify these ships. I could do things to the ships to visually make them look unique and distinct from some other ship, or I could build one from the ground up, which is something that I couldn't do in Elite. And so I've got those things, but I also have an actual RPG narrative that is worth paying attention to and following and doing things with, along with all of the other stuff that I can do, plus the outposts, plus the weapon modifications, plus there's so many different things that I can do in this world that makes it so much more immersive than what they were doing in Elite, that I'm so excited to see, like, when this game fully opens up for me and starts to bloom, what I'll be able to do with it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you, in 2 sentences, make me want to buy it?
All right. 2 sentences make you want to buy it.
Yeah. What you got?
Get yourself an Xbox.
$70. I got that.
Get yourself an Xbox. Get yourself Game Pass.
Is it on Game Pass?
It is on Game Pass.
Yeah. Day one.
Day and date. That's it. That's it.
It's always on Game Pass.
It is always on Game Pass.
They do have a 3-month deal right now, by the way. Listeners, they do have a 3-month like cheap deal right now. It's cheaper than the actual 3 months. So maybe I'll link that down in the show notes.
$15 a month now?
$15 a month for Ultimate.
$16.99.
Yeah, $17 a month for Ultimate.
They just raised it.
Yeah, $17 a month
Microsoft.
for Ultimate. But what that means is you can do what I am doing, which is play the game on your Xbox primarily. But then when I'm working all the time. But sometimes at lunch, when I've got some free time, I can also play it on my PC.
Okay.
You just cross saves.
Boot it.
Right, and cross save, right, and
nice.
it will pick up immediately from where I left off.
Exactly.
And I can play during my lunch break, and then when I'm done with my lunch break or when I'm done with the workday, I can go to my couch and play on my Xbox and pick up where I left off from lunch. So, so there are all these different ways to play it at $17 a month. It's definitely worth it, for a person that wants to play a single player game and have emergent stories, right? Stories that can happen only because of the way that you decide to play.
Okay.
I don't know that
cool.
I don't know that there's another game that's out there right now that is doing it in this space, right? In the sci-fi space, right? Like space exploration kind of way.
Pun intended.
So pun intended, fully.
Mike, what are your thoughts on this game? I know I just kind of took over hosting, but
no, that's okay. So I'm going to start with my cons, just because I am actually liking this game, so I do want to end sort of on a high note.
Are they elite?
Yeah, sure.
Your cons?
Cons.
Yes.
My cons here. switching guns / inventory system is horrendous. Like, I had the laser in which you use to mine, and then I picked up a pistol, and it didn't automatically switch to the pistol. You have to, and Cicero, tell me if I'm wrong, but you have to actually press pause, go into the menu, select the gun that you want to use. Am I incorrect?
So yes, right. So here's your biggest con. Your biggest con is that the tutorial in this game, in the ways in which the systems work and how you as the user are supposed to interact with those systems to be most efficient, their way of teaching you that stuff is non-existent. So
that is Cicero has like, okay, sure, I could list my cons.
What you told me.
I could list my cons, but it is wrapped up in exactly what Cicero just said.
So
there are games that hold your hand a little too much, and I'm a gamer, right? I am a gamer, so like I don't necessarily want that. I know the basic mechanics of games, right? But Starfield to me is on a whole nother level. There are so many different systems in this game, and they don't tutorialize it well, if at all, it seems. They do a little bit,
right? So there's a splash screen that will come up when a thing is supposed to happen, but you're not reading that screen, and even if you do read that screen, it's not going to make sense to you. It's also
not a quick read. It's been like a couple sentences every blurb that they pop up.
Right.
So
it's a paragraph.
Yeah, so apparently there is a way to switch weapons, which Cicero, if you could tell me that when we're done, I would appreciate it. But literally what I had to do to get to my pistol is I had to go into my menu and switch. And on top of that, I was telling Joe this yesterday, I didn't pick up the ammo. I thought I picked up the ammo.
click.
So I go to reload. I'm pressing X. I know X is to reload, and it is in this game. I mean, that's just natural first-person shooter. But I didn't pick up the ammo. So I have no way to fight these pirates in my first encounter. So I go back to where I pick up the gun. Obviously, I see the ammo there. The other side of it, the other con that I will go into, is the gunplay. That pistol in particular was not fun to use. It didn't feel impactful. It felt like I was just bullet sponging the pirates. So take that with a grain of salt, listeners, because I am less than 2 hours in. So there may be obviously more weapons that I will get that will feel a lot better with the gunplay and the movement.
So that's the both the brilliance and the downfall of this game is that so there is a hotkey, right? There's an ability to add weapons to there's a dial that you have that you can pull up, right? And your
is that on the D-pad?
It's on the D-pad, right? So if you look, you'll see your health is on one of those. Is there. Yep. Right. So, and then you'll see that it's a T, right? Like the D-pad, and there are 4 prongs on each of the axes.
It's like a plus sign. It's literally like a D-pad. Yeah. You use your D-pad to pull up your Starfield D-pad.
Right, exactly. And on there, you can equip, you can favorite weapons, whatever it is if you want, and add them.
And then those are quick swap.
Yeah, right. You can add them to wherever you want, and you can quick swap that way.
Okay.
But at no point does the game tell you, or if it does, it happens in a way that no one's paying attention to it, right? Because like you, I was doing the exact same thing, right? Like every time that I wanted a gun, I found the one gun that I wanted, and that was the gun that I had selected, and I knew how to pull the gun out and holster the gun, and that was it.
I don't even know how to holster yet.
Right. So if you hold the X button down, it'll bring your gun out. If you hold it, it'll holster it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, pressing the left trigger brings your gun out too. I figured that.
Oh,
too.
okay. All right. I don't know that I knew that, but yeah. So there's all of those things that you can use,
right.
but there's
I'll
no
have to
way
play
for you to
around
know
with
that. Yeah. There's no way
This
for
is
you to know
old school
that.
gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
mean,
get, you
just
don't get
the
instructions. You don't get a walkthrough. No, you got to figure it out.
kind of.
Right.
Yeah,
I like
but like
that.
I
Back to the
appreciate
90s.
like I said, I appreciate that in some ways because there are games that just handhold you throughout the whole game, right?
Yeah.
But in this particular case, when I am being introduced to so many systems, there's a lot of systems in this game. It does need to be a little bit better tutorialized to help anybody really interact and enjoy those systems. I would say just
Unless they have unlimited time to invest into figuring them out.
right. Or I should just maybe have a guide up next to me with just like the basic system stuff. Maybe.
Whoa.
Who knows?
Right.
But
yeah. So the other thing that I'll say is that your pistol, that starting pistol, obviously, no pun intended, is intentionally underpowered.
Right. So, all
and
right.
as you modify them, they'll get better.
Yeah. This is a mixture, con and pro. I like the space combat. However, the tutorialization as well as how difficult I think it is was something that is just a hump that I have to get over.
Sure.
It is very hard to manage. I was telling Joe this yesterday as well. How the system works. You have to, in the middle of a dogfight, you have to allocate your resources to certain parts of your ship. So like you could take resources out of your missiles, add them to your engine. That way you could go a little bit faster, and you could do that while you are dogfighting. So it's sort of like I found myself accidentally having like no engines and no speed, and I was just like a sitting duck, and I was getting destroyed. My shields were just dead on arrival, right? So that is not necessarily a con, but right now it's a little difficult for me, so I just got to get used to it.
And that's something as an Elite Dangerous player, I was already used to.
You were right into it.
Yeah, I felt right at home with that.
But I will say, difference in the space combat versus the pistol, that space combat felt weighty. Like when I shot a missile, it felt good. Like it felt like I was really doing damage to the person, to the other ships of the pirate, the Crimson Fleet. So, Joe, I have a couple more pros, but you were about to ask a question.
Oh no, I was just gonna say you keep mentioning how far you are into the game, and this is totally dependent upon the person playing. But I was telling you, so my friend Eddie is playing. Shout out Eddie. And he spent well over 2 hours just customizing his character to look like him.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to role play into this universe of, hey, I'm a space explorer. So that time can be relative.
Yeah.
You can
Right.
say, oh,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
10 hours in.
100%.
But if 3.5 of those hours was character creation, you may really only be halfway through the very first part of
That's
the mission.
True. Right.
But if you're just jumping right into it, yeah, that could be could be a significant amount too if you're 10 hours in. But yeah, it totally depends upon the person playing and how much time you want to invest into character creation and sort of like if you're going to role play it or if you're just going to play the game.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. So that sort of segues really well into my pros. So just quick pros because we got to get moving. But the character creator is awesome. I made a guy. I didn't spend 2.5 hours, but I made a guy that pretty much looks like me. It was kind of cool that I could make him a little bit muscular, a little bit chubby too, because that's what I am. And I gave him a goatee. I didn't make him bald, but I could have. But I did my old like high school hair, like wavy, curly, and just like everywhere. And it was a very, very cool and in-depth character creator, which is really awesome. Another pro is this game is pretty gorgeous. With the Xbox Series X, you can do Dolby Vision on this game. Dolby Vision's supported, so even that makes it look even better, which is really cool. And then the Final Pro is, and this is the reason, this is one of the main reasons I will continue playing this game. The music is just so incredible in this game. It is orchestrically epic. Like, it is so good. I love the music in this game. I also love how they use the orchestra to pinpoint certain like certain like moments within like the story and stuff. Like, it's an awesome experience with the music. So kudos to the Bethesda team and whatever orchestra they use to get the awesome music in the game. So
nice.
Let's move on. I wanted to give a quick PS5 impression because I got a PS5 now and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, super excited about having the PS5. I know that both of you have had experience with the PS5 before, but this was my first soiree into the system. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a really it's a chungus of a console. It's like half the size.
It's huge.
It's like half the height of my TV. Like, I kid you not. It's but honestly, like the PlayStation 5 does everything that my Series X did, so that's not really the impressions that I'm coming at right now. I wanted to talk about this DualSense controller is so freaking good. Like, I was playing Miles Morales, and even in Ghost of Tsushima I started that as well. But I was playing Miles Morales, and the ability to feel the tension of your web swing when you shoot it as well, you could feel the tension as you're swinging. Like, it starts like getting a little bit harder because you're using more strength to be doing the swing, and you're going against the grain, right? And it is the DualSense controller is incredible. It is
next level gaming.
It is really incredible, and I wanted to just pose this to you guys because again, Joe and Cicero and I were talking about this, this whole week as I was sharing this impression. And I think it's something that we could talk about now for our audience. Is like, Xbox did something very safe. They essentially made the most powerful console to bring to market, but they made it so simple as far as backwards compatibility and bringing your stuff to the next gen.
Sure.
Like, the Xbox Series X is a beautiful console in that way. It's so simple, but it also is very powerful and does the new gen gaming stuff that we want, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But what they didn't do is that they didn't do something that was radically different going into this next gen. And that's what, to me, separates the PS5 from the Series X, is this DualSense controller. Like, yeah, the haptics possibly in some games could get annoying. We'll see more of the games that I do play. But for now, the immersion level that I get from playing with the DualSense is second to none when, even when I'm playing on my Series X. I love the immersion level that I have still on my Series X as far as like graphical fidelity and like Dolby Atmos support and all that. But the DualSense separates the PS5 so much, and I wanted to get your take on that, Cicero. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, I think I said initially when I first got my PS5 that the DualSense controller is by far the greatest pack-in controller to come with any console
ever.
And there's nothing that's happened in the time since I got mine to dissuade me from that stance. But yes, I will say that you're right that Microsoft played it safe, but they had in the Xbox One generation, they had the best controller, right? The best standard controller, and they took that standard controller and they innovated. They modified it slightly to make it a little bit more. They made it a little bit better, right? They added some textures to it. They made
just
it slightly
a caveat.
bigger.
just a caveat. I do agree with you. I think that the Xbox Series X controller is the best controller ergonomically, and
Yes.
probably the Elite Series 2 is just the same, right?
Right.
But as far as packing controls, you're 100% right. The DualSense is leagues above everything.
Yeah. So what I'll say in Microsoft's defense is that they were operating from behind and were a little risk averse. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think the one place where they felt like, oh, well, the one place where they felt like either they had parity or had a lead was in the controller space. And so they didn't necessarily want to take something and break something that wasn't broken, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what happened. The technology that Sony had been using in their DualShock controllers was a little bit long in the tooth, and they needed to do something, and they did, right? And not only did they do it, they went out of their way and they did something really, really incredible. Now, what I will say going forward is that it provides an opportunity for lots of developers to do some really unique and innovative things with their games and utilizing that controller, but there's no guarantee that we're going to see that in an abundance outside of first party games if the first party games decide to use it. But when it is used, it's going to be it's definitely more than a gimmick. It's to me it is more worthwhile and it's more useful than the ways that Nintendo tried to add their ice cubes to the Joy-Cons or whatever it was that they were doing, at least initially. So there's stuff there, and 100% I'm going to give Sony credit for doing what it is that they did, but I don't know that because Sony did what they did with this controller, because this controller is so great, that I look at the Xbox and I'm like, I don't know, the Xbox is not as great. Because I mean, to be quite frank, I've got both consoles, but I still prefer most of my games that I'm buying. I will buy for my Xbox as opposed to my PlayStation.
And that's the DualSense is going to be the only thing that remotely makes me think about a third-party game. Which console I'm going to buy. Right. But I mean, ultimately, I probably will stick with my Xbox, and I wasn't saying that to dog on the Xbox, sure. because still, I do prefer their ecosystem. I do prefer the controller ergonomics, like the feeling of the controller, but the technology in the controller of the DualSense is what I was sort of 100%. Harping at. Right. Joe, you've had experience with the DualSense. What are your thoughts on it?
I think I said this a long time ago, but yeah, I think it's evolutionary. I think that it was the controller for the system that made the system, that gave it that one step above, especially when the Series X first came out. And because they released it at the same time, right? We had the Series X and then we had the PS5. Mm-hmm. I think the thing that gave the PS5 the edge in that would have been the controller. And that's the only thing that it had going for it, because everything else about it between the two consoles are very comparable. Mm-hmm. The storage, the quick saves, the quick resumes. The only thing that PlayStation is lacking is the ecosystem that Xbox has developed over the years, and they've spent years doing it. And honestly, I think that there's nobody else that touches them. Nintendo comes close because they gave us the backwards compatibility on the Switch, and they gave us the old, access to some of the old games, which is nice. But with all of the cloud gaming and with the giant library that Xbox has given us, they win for affordable way to game. Mm-hmm. Hands down, they take the cake on that one.
Yeah. But
for this next gen of gaming, between the Xbox and the PlayStation, we'll say, because I had your One X before this, mm-hmm. which was 4K compatible, which could run everything at 60 FPS. The only increase that we got by moving to the series X and to the PS5 was a bump in frame rate, and that's kind of it. Quick resume.
Yeah.
But other than that, we didn't gain a whole lot, except for with the PlayStation, they innovated their controller. Now I have 2 Elite Xbox controllers. I have this one that I bought from you, and then I have a white one that I bought from my friend. I love the Elite controllers. I love the paddles. I use them in all of the games that I play. They're very important to me. They're integral to my gaming experience. The DualSense controller was such an innovation that I think that they win, like, for this evolution of gaming. They win for the upgrade that they brought to this series in the console generation. Does that mean that I think it's better or that I'm going to play on the PlayStation? No. But the level of immersion that you get from using that controller, if Xbox could do that with their controllers, it would be a huge step up.
Yeah.
In the immersion and the gaming experience that I would get on Xbox. So I would love to see them come to the table with something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. Xbox has dealt with haptics in the past. They did that with Forza on the Xbox One, and so they've done that as well, but not to this level. I will still prefer, and I always will prefer the Xbox ecosystem. But I just wanted to talk about that DualSense controller, guys. I think it's incredible and special.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So, and this has literally been, I got my PS5 last Friday. This has literally been my first experience with the DualSense. I have held it. I haven't played it. And playing it, we just had to talk about it because it's super fun.
It is.
Yes, it's amazing. The Playroom, when you're first
Astro's Playroom,
Astro's Playroom is definitely worth playing. It is. I had another friend who also just recently got a PS5, and that was what I told him to do. It was like, man, make sure you play Playroom. Not only is it the pack-in game, right? So you don't have to spend any extra money. You've already spent a lot.
Just download it.
Right. But in addition to that, it does 3 things, right? So it's the free game, it's the pack-in game, so you get something to play. It is also a tribute and museum to PlayStation's history. So if you're a fan of,
that was really cool,
of video game history, being able to see all the accessories and talk about the games and and the legacy that PlayStation has within the games industry was definitely fun to see and discover and play around with. But also the third thing, and probably the most important thing, is it is a very good tutorial on what that controller is, how to use it, and what its capabilities are.
It's also a really good platformer. Like, it's just a good game. It's just a good game. All right, guys, we got to get into the news.
Do we?
So let's we do. Hey, Switch 2 apparently was demoed behind closed doors at Gamescom 2023. So
that's what I heard.
Not too long ago. And so apparently we're reading here that they revealed the Switch 2 behind closed doors at Gamescom in last month, showing off the power of its upcoming next-gen console. And what happened here is that people are saying that it is comparable to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series console. So the site said this demo, VGC actually ran this report, and it says this demo ran using NVIDIA's AI-powered DLSS upscaling technology alongside ray tracing with visuals comparable to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles. Now, what they did was they actually showed off, gentlemen, I think we all played this or at least watched videos of it. They showed off that Unreal Engine 5 Matrix Awakens demo on Switch 2 hardware. So not only is that rumor about, so the Switch 2 seems to be imminent, but also there's another sort of evidence piece that goes into this. Nintendo is moving on to a brand new Zelda. They are not doing any DLC for Tears of the Kingdom like they did with Breath of the Wild. Instead, they are focusing on the new system. And I think if they announced and were working on some DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, then the Switch would definitely have a longer life. And so I think they are actually moving on and sort of, you know, picking up the pieces and building something for the Switch 2's release. So, Joe, what are your initial thoughts on these couple news items of the Switch 2?
I'm interested to see if it holds true, I guess, because they have released the Switch. The Switch was, I think, true to what they stated. It's a handheld gaming machine. It is a dockable gaming machine. You get a better experience. In my opinion, a better experience docked than handheld. I prefer playing it docked over handheld anyways. A lot of people take their Switch on the go and play on the go, and it's the perfect system to do that with. When they came out with the Switch OLED, in my opinion, dumpster fire. I think that they missed the opportunity to add a bunch of needed upgrades to the Switch that the community had been wanting for a long time at that point, because it was 3 years, I think, between the Switch release and when the OLED came out. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it was close to 3 years. In 3 years, you notice like a LAN port would be awesome to be able to connect Ethernet if you wanted to boost something other than
actually
just the fidelity of the screen.
4.5 years.
Okay, so that's a long time for community input, we'll say. And with the Switch OLED, they didn't really add anything that the community was talking about. I think everyone else was interested in a Switch 2. So hopefully with the Switch 2, they have seen all of the Reddit threads and read all of the comments and listened to a very, very large Nintendo fan base, and they will bring things to the Switch 2 that we all want to see.
Well, I don't know if they wanted a proper Switch 2, but they definitely wanted like a mid-gen upgrade as far as processing and power.
Yeah, something more than just a OLED screen.
A new screen. Although a lot of people rave about the OLED and its screen and handheld. But Cicero,
it's fine.
Our resident Nintendo stan, you play nothing but Zelda. In fact, when you were talking about Starfield, you were actually just saying your Tears of the Kingdom impressions.
Correct.
Cicero, you love the Switch, and
Yes.
it's your favorite console. It's your most played console. Switch 2,
100%.
you excited?
Yeah, sure. Why? I mean, why not? Right? Like, it's a new console. It is a little strange to me because it sounds like we should be expecting to see it next year, right?
Yeah.
2024. Like, it wouldn't be.
Maybe.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's out of left field if the release is 2024. That's 7 years of for the Switch, which I was gonna say, I would expect it to go 8 years, but what's the difference, right? Like, what's 12 months at that point? So yeah, I guess it's about that time. I'll really be interested in seeing what it is and how they're able to incorporate the community and the library of games that they've already put out with the Nintendo Switch, and if they're going to continue to do this kind of like, there's compatibility within the family based on the name of the console, because if you notice, right, like there was the once the GameCube came out, the GameCube was unique in and of itself, but then the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance had compatibility things that were there. The Nintendo DS also had compatibility with the Game Boy Advance, but not necessarily with Game Boy games. So it was a little bit weird on that end, but the Wii and the Wii U had compatibility stuff, but the Switch didn't have any compatibility with the Wii U, and now presumably the Switch 2 will have some level of compatibility. But
better.
But right. I mean, that's the hope.
Yes.
The thing that's really interesting with this, and kind of goes back into the conversation that we were having about the PS5, is Nintendo constantly is innovating on itself. And when they do these innovations, when they have these gimmicks that are part of their innovation that they really lean into, they've got to continue to perpetuate that. And it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to perpetuate the gimmicks that they created with the Switch into the Switch 2, while also keeping it relevant and keeping it technically up to date, up to snuff with the current, with the current crop of consoles.
Yeah. Cicero, really quick, I just want a yes or no. I don't want your reason. Just want a yes or no. Will the Switch 2 launch with Bluetooth?
Yes.
It's freaking better, dude.
All right. Anyway, so my impressions on this, I mean, obviously this is true. I think the reports are true, that it was showcased. I also like it's kind of exciting that it's running, close to what PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series can do.
Supposedly.
Because
allegedly,
yes.
That's what I told my buddy, because he's all, it's rumored. I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, but it wasn't running on hardware. It was running on presumed, it's running on hardware that they think will be representative of what they're going to put into the assumed, right?
Yeah, they have a
mobile
PC
device,
and they limit it down.
Regardless, Joe, you've played Tears of the Kingdom. Very pretty game for
gorgeous.
Being able to play it on a day one Switch, right?
I'm playing it on a Gen 2 Switch, but
I would be very, very, very excited to sort of see the graphical upgrades, sort of the draw distance and stuff like that you can get with a more powerful console with such a game that is already beautiful in its own regard and its art style.
It would be interesting to see if there is a difference in fidelity between this system and the next one. No. I don't know if there would be, because I don't know if it's limited by the game or the hardware. It would be nice to see that in I think it's sort of by making, though.
I think it's more about the hardware. The Switch 2, it does need to be fully backwards compatible. It just needs to be. It has to be. It has to be. I think there's been rumors that they're going to stick with the cartridges, so that's fine. That seems to make it backwards compatible, or at least.
I like the cartridges.
Yeah.
I buy physical copies of my Switch games. I'll put it that way. I have Tears of the Kingdom hard copy. I have Breath of the Wild hard copy. Mario Kart, same thing. All of these things, I like to have the cartridges for two reasons. One, I like the art that comes with it. I like having the packaging. And two, I don't like having my Switch loaded with everything, so I have to make space. So now I don't have to. I just pop the cartridges and I can play a game. And I am old school. I like to own what I own and not just digitally. Now, all of my movies and stuff I do that way, but like games, I want to own it. I own Hogwarts Legacy, the disc edition, which kind of annoying, but I like to own it.
All right, well,
okay, I'm old. I get it.
So you are old. All right, Switch 2. It's coming. Next year probably.
It might be good.
Yeah. All right. Indiana Jones is being talked about next year, guys. In an interview with Esquire, Howard did not share much in regards to the upcoming game, but teased that he could have more to share down the road. The article reads, quote, Howard would talk more about Indiana Jones. I can tell he really wants to, but he's not allowed. And another quote, instead, as I exit his office, he flashes that smile. We'll talk next year. So, Cicero, with the FTC trial recently, we also learned that this Indiana Jones game is actually going to be console exclusive on the Xbox. There's no sort of PlayStation deal out there. And Todd Howard is, again, he's executive producing this game, and he is very passionate about Indiana Jones. So, Machine Games is making it, makers of Wolfenstein and that. Do you have high hopes for this Indiana Jones game?
I have hopes for this Indiana Jones game. It's really going to be interesting to see what the design pathos is for this game, right? Because so Indiana Jones or Tomb Raider was made because we couldn't get an Indiana Jones game, and then Uncharted was made to make the male Tomb Raider, right? AKA Indiana Jones. So it's going to be interesting to see Indiana Jones proper be a console exclusive and how they choose to represent that, right? So we're talking about a company that has only really made first-person games, and it like these types of games, generally speaking, are third-person over the shoulder action style games. So, are they going to stick to that formula, or are they going to stick to the formula that they've previously used and done first-person games? And if that's the case, it's kind of hard to have a game with an iconic IP where you're playing as an iconic character that you never get to see.
Yeah.
Right? Like part of...
I agree.
Yeah, part
maybe there's
of
a reflection.
Right, exactly. You go into a mirror in a bathroom somewhere and you get to say, "Oh yeah, I'm Indiana Jones. Look at that." But so it really will be interesting to see if they choose to go first person or they choose to go third person, because I think that will be a barometer in terms of what the quality or what your expectations of what this game could or should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are 100% right. I think this game just automatically has an uphill battle because although it is Indiana Jones and it's a beloved IP and there's fantastic movies, there's some duds, there's some fantastic movies, right, in the whole series. What is going to separate this apart besides name from Uncharted, from Tomb Raider? Because Uncharted, by all intents and purposes, has thrown out 2 out of 4 10 out of 10 games, right? Like, I think some people have some issues with 1 and some people have some issues with 3, but everybody says 2 and 4 are 10 out of 10s, at least from most of the reviews, right? And what is going to be the difference? What is going to be the thing that sets this apart, aside from being able to play as Indiana Jones, right? I think that there's some interesting things that you could do with the whip. Like, obviously, he uses the whip, and Nathan Drake doesn't do that. Right. But also, like, he punches a lot and he shoots a lot of guns. That's what Nathan Drake did in Uncharted.
Right. Yeah.
So by all intents and purposes, this needs to have something that is going to separate it from those two IPs, other than name alone.
For me, for me, I'm sorry, Jelly. I just want to.
No, you're good.
Say, yeah. For me, I'm almost okay with it being Uncharted with Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Because Uncharted was Indiana Jones without Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if they can make an Uncharted style game, those games are like, you could say it's derivative of Uncharted and it plays just like Uncharted, but I'm listening to Harrison Ford and I've got all of these other iconic things in there and I've got the John Williams soundtrack in it, and that adds everything to it, right? Because otherwise, why make an Indiana Jones game? Because we've already got Uncharted games that are Indiana Jones games. We already have Tomb Raider games that are Indiana Jones games. Why make an Indiana Jones game unless you're going to have Harrison Ford, you're going to have that John Williams soundtrack, you're going to have those sound effects, you're going to be able to use those assets, and basically Indiana Jones is Uncharted. So why would I expect something different from that? Sure, if they can provide something different, then I guess that's fine. But all I care about is getting that experience with the actual characters, right? Because we had been getting the great value version of that for our entire gaming lives. Give me the genuine article, and I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's the characters. It's gonna be the story. So for whatever they're making, Indiana Jones, right? We have an established franchise of story that they can pull from and characters that they can pull from. So if they want to bring in any of these characters, they now have the availability. And if they want to bring in any of these stories and let us actually play through them instead of just watch them, now we have, the possibility of doing that.
They've got all this space in between. It belongs in a museum and him looking for the Holy Grail, right?
Yeah.
Or the not even the Holy Grail, the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant.
Right. So there's all of this time in between those two moments where the legend of Indiana Jones grew, right? They could create stories from there. There's all of this space that they could just throw a bunch of canon in there. So I mean, you could make 5, 6, 7, 8 games where Indiana Jones is, it's just a new story in the Indiana Jones mythos. Yeah. So
as long as they bring Sean Connery back for a little bit of cameo, I'm cool with it.
He's dead, bro.
Okay, yeah, but in a video game, he can be as alive as ever.
Yeah, I guess they can
all they
AI
have to do
his
is create
voice.
an image. Oh, there's enough people who can do Sean Connery.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about the voice.
Right.
I just want to see
Trebek.
him. I want to hear him. Exactly.
I don't know. I actually, I'm the opposite. I hope that Harrison Ford is not involved.
Really?
You want Shia LaBeouf?
No. I want them. In the video game universe, I want them to explore their own path and make their own Indiana Jones. Like, I don't think Harrison Ford should be
one without the other.
I think it's very fair to say that you don't have to make an Indiana Jones that is the likeness of Harrison Ford, the voice of Harrison Ford. Like, I think that they should do something else.
Wow. I don't know that I could disagree with you more.
I'm with Cicero on this one.
Right.
I don't know if you can separate.
Right.
That's like saying Han Solo isn't Harrison Ford. We all know that they made a movie called Solo, and it was the worst. Do you know why? Because it didn't have Harrison Ford.
I also don't think they're going to do Harrison Ford. We could do a lunch bet. I'm down.
You don't think they're going to
buy you lunch?
Yeah. Like if they're gonna de-age Harrison Ford for the latest movie and have him do his own dialogue, sounding like an old man, looking like a younger man, they're 100% going to use Harrison Ford to be Indiana Jones in these things. Or
at the very least,
I don't think so.
Visual likeness,
right? Well, at the very least, it's going to be a visual likeness. It may be depending on how much conversation there's going to be. There's that maybe they'll use a sound alike for the dialogue, but the images, it's got him. He is Indiana Jones.
Absolutely. I will bet
Indiana
you
Jones.
2 tacos.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll much bet that the likeness is
Sean Connery is James Bond.
No, there's several people that are James Bond.
Yeah.
There's several people
there
that were
could
James
be
Bond.
several instances of Indiana Jones.
But there haven't been.
I understand there haven't been, but there could be.
This is the start of it.
Yeah.
Next week or next year, sorry.
Right.
We'll see who's getting lunch. I don't think they have Harrison Ford involved. Anyway,
what do you want? You want some Peter Luger sauce on your stuff, Jelly? Right?
I'll take whatever. It's a free lunch. I ain't a beggar or a chooser here. But Mike, whatever you want. If there is no likeness to Harrison Ford, I will buy you lunch.
Right.
All right, sounds good.
Here in front of everyone in their ear holes and
All right.
eye holes.
Sounds good. Okay. Moving on quick. We're going to add our last one here to our quick attack news, and we'll go through 4 of these really quick. So Stray is getting an animated movie. It's in the works.
Boo.
Annapurna has worked. Quick thoughts.
Stupid.
I love it.
Okay. Love it. Alone in the Dark is delayed till 2024. This is the remake. Delayed. Cool. We're good. Okay.
Yes.
Not shocked.
Jedi Survivor got another big patch to make it more stable, 60 FPS on both consoles and PC. So right now is probably the best time to play it. And finally, new Xbox update lets you stream games through Discord to your friends, so you can all have fun watching one person play Xbox.
Sounds not fun.
All right.
If you're gonna watch a stream, go watch a stream. What do you do on Discord?
There's
Hang out with your friends.
there's also some other things that have come about in the latest Xbox update, so take a look at the update there. Gentlemen, just really quick. Final parting words. What is your favorite video game memory? Let's start with you, Cicero.
Oh man, my favorite video game memory. So when I was 13 years old or so, I played a game on the NES called Top Gun. Top Gun, made by Konami, impossibly hard. Very easy to exploit, and I finally finished that game. And at the end, they played the Top Gun, triumphant Top Gun theme, and there's credits rolling and there's stuff coming up. And I so impressed with myself that I went into my bedroom and changed my clothes out of what I was wearing into my NASA flight suit that I had gotten from space camp, and stood in front of the television screen as the credits were rolling and saluted as I listened to the music. That is my favorite gaming memory of all time.
Dang, that is a win. Oh, man.
That's so good. Joe?
I'm just impressed you had a flight suit on the ready. Just on hand. You're like, yeah. Throwing this bad boy on. Here it goes. Mine was also on the NES, but it was Duck Hunt. And when I was young, so a little bit of backstory here. My mom was a gamer. Little did I know or understand at the time. But she had the NES hidden in her room under her bed.
Oh, wow. The naughty place.
Yes. And I remember sneaking into my mom's room and loading up, pulling out the NES, plugging in the TV, and loading up Duck Hunt on our 13-inch boob tube TV so I could play Duck Hunt. And we had the gun, right? So it was amazing. And I remember sneaking in there as a kid, pulling out the NES just to play video games. And that was probably the best time I ever had playing games. To this day, there's something about being naughty and sneaking,
the forbidden
gaming.
Fruit.
Yeah, exactly right.
Duck Hunt.
There's just something about that, and sneaking that out and then trying to put it away exactly how it was, exactly how I found it, so I didn't get caught and called out like, "Oh, you've been playing when you shouldn't have." So yeah, that was probably my favorite gaming moment.
I believe that I've shared it before, but my favorite gaming memories, Justin will know this. He was a part of it. But my favorite gaming memory is probably the Challenge series that me, Justin, and a couple of our old friends did. My friend Jeff, we're not really friends anymore, but he bought a WWF championship belt off.
You know what you did, Jeff?
Amazon.
Win.
And me, Justin, Jeff, and my friend at the time, James, we every single week would challenge each other. Whoever was holding the belt, they would be challenged to a video game. It could be a sports game
for the strap.
Yep, it could be a sports game. It could be a sports game. It could be any game. If it was. If it was something like Mario, you would have to win it, be the shortest time or higher points or whatever. So you could present any game. You made up the rules, and the person carrying the belt had to defend themselves in the game that you chose. And so Man, there were just so many fun times with that. One time, my buddy James, I had the belt and he challenged me to beer pong.
Beer pong's a
video game?
Yeah, well, just like a game in general, but like for
any game.
But most of the time it was in video
hopscotch.
games. So,
okay.
But yeah, that's probably the most fun that I've had gaming. Up until trying the DualSense, I guess. I don't know.
Did he
Did he win? Did he unseat you?
In beer pong?
Yeah.
No, I beat him. I held my belt. I held the belt there, but it was so fun. Like, there was one time where I borrowed my friend's N64 and I battled somebody in Pokemon Stadium. Like, it was, we did so many awesome things. Like, if we, this was before the era of Game Pass, right? So like, if we wanted a particular game, we would either go to GameStop and find a cheap copy, or like Redbox, we would rent it. Like I remember picking up WWE 2K like 18 or whatever, and from Redbox just to challenge somebody. It was epic. It was a lot of fun. Just really, really good times.
So did they, when it was time to get challenged, did he go, Micah, it's time to play the game.
Time to play the game. No, not quite, but man, just a lot of good memories, a lot of fun. So anyway, let us know your favorite game of memory down below in the comments. If you're still with us here on YouTube, again, hit the subscribe button, like the video. Joe, thanks for just stepping in and chatting games with us.
I'm happy to be here. It was very fun.
Cicero, thanks as always for being there as well.
Just like old times.
Yeah, just like old times.
It is like old times.
My name is Mike, and this has been Test Your Might. What is it, 130?
131, sir.
131. Wow, crazy.
Trust the editor.
Yep, 131.
Palindrome.
Yep, we got a palindromatic episode. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Peace.
Bye.